Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel where today we are doing a tag, the mid-year book Freakout tag to be specific. And there are like 13 questions for this, so we're just gonna jump right in. And the very first question is, what is the best book that you have read so far in the year 2020? And that is This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El-Mohtar and Max Gladstone. And this is a very beautiful romantic science fiction. There's time traveling. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's so good. And by the way, it's a queer romance and the writing is beautiful and just the structure of it is so good. And I loved it. I want to reread it. I'm trying to figure out when I'm going to reread it, and I'm going to move it up the list soon because I just so badly loved this book. Number 2, what is the best sequel you've read so far in the year 2020? Well, here's the thing. I've been rereading the October Day series, which is literally one of my favorite series. And I also did a reread of the Murderbot Diaries series, which is literally my favorite science fiction series. So those would be the best sequels that I've read. But other than like rereads, it would be Head On by John Scalzi, which is the second book in the Lock-In series, which is an adult science fiction series where there was a pandemic, of course, and it left some people mentally awake but unable to move their body. And so in this future, they have learned to deal with that. This follows our main character of Chris Shane, who is one of these individuals, and so gets around using robot body. And they are an FBI agent and they solve murder mysteries. And I really enjoyed this. Like, I really like that we fleshed out the world a bit more. We got a really solid mystery. It was super easy and fun to read and just a really enjoyable time. Question number 3. What is a new release you haven't read yet but want to? And for that one, I chose Forged in Fire and Stars by Andrea Robertson. This was published May 5th, and honestly, I'm probably not going to get to it for kind of a while because I have a lot of other books that are, that I need to read before I get to this one. But it is, when I do purchase books, it's near the top of the list. So we're following our main character, who is a blacksmith, and she's training to fulfill this very particular position at court called the loresmith, who makes artifacts, I think, for the king and queen. And then the king and queen are overthrown. So our lovely blacksmith has to go figure out something else to do with their life. And then they have finally settled in, and then the prince and princess come and are like, hey, come help us, get our throne back. And I just love this. It has so much potential to be so interesting and different, and we are following a blacksmith, which makes me so happy, and I just really want to read this book. So number 4 is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? And that's easy. That's the next book in the October Day series by McGuire, which is The Killing Frost. And I just love this series, so I am super pumped about this book coming out. Number 5, what is your biggest disappointment this year? And actually, I couldn't pick just one. So I had 3 different really disappointing books that were disappointing for different reasons. And so we're going to start with Kate Daniels. Well, actually, it's Magic Bites, which is the first book in the Kate Daniels series by Ilona Andrews. This was super disappointing because this was a reread, and it had been like 7 or 8 years since I had read this, and I just remember loving this. Well, here's the thing. This is an adult urban fantasy series, and it was published in 2007. And adult urban fantasy series that were published between 2004 and 2008, which was like when there was a huge urban fantasy boom, the first book in the series tends to be terrible. You just have to kind of like strap in and write it out and hope that there's something really good that you can hold on to. And then the second book tends to be really just a lot better. And that's exactly what this is. This was not good. If I had read this now, I probably wouldn't have continued on because I found the characters to just be very one note. I didn't like the storyline because our main character is a mercenary being asked to do detective work, so she didn't know what she was doing. The ending was super rushed. There was ignorant white people racism all over the place, which just made it uncomfortable to read. And it was just like not at all what I was expecting, because I remember loving this series. Now, I did read book 2. Lest you think it's all bad. I did read book 2, and it does get so much better in like every respect. But I wasn't expecting book 1 to be quite like that. The second book would be Parallel by Lauren Miller. And this is a standalone young adult alternate timelines kind of story. And I went in with 0 expectations. But 100 pages in, I was loving it. I was loving it to the point where I was telling my friend about this book that I was reading it. And then literally after I told my friend, the storyline just went downhill from there until we got to the ending, which I found to be just trash. I did not like the ending at all. So it was like a special kind of disappointment where you were so careful to go in without any expectations. And then because the beginning rocked so hard, you end up with these high hopes only for it to be completely just demolished by the rest of the book. And I'm like, I've only had this happen a couple times, and it was just so disappointing, but also annoying. So that's book 2. And then the third biggest disappointment was Steampunk Holmes, Legacy of the Nautilus by P.C. Martin. And this is actually the very first book that I read this year. But again, this is a very special disappointment in that it wasn't good. So it's supposed to be a steampunk theme Sherlock Holmes. Well, the steampunk was almost not there. It was more of an aesthetic than anything else. Sherlock Holmes it was half the book. Literally half the book was just him explaining his observations that we weren't privy to the observations anyway, which just annoyed me. And then it very much felt like just a setup to a sequel that just never happened. So it was just overall really not great, and it was disappointing anyway. But I had been wanting to read this for like 10 years, and I finally got it, and I finally sat down and read it. And for it to be like, I had been waiting for this book for 10 years, and then it was so bad. It's just, again, very special kind of disappointment. So 3 books. What is number 6? What is your biggest surprise so far this year? And that has to go to Kingdom of Needle and Bone by Mira Grant. Now, I like Mira Grant. I tend to like her 3 to 4 stars much. Is about where the average is, but it's solid and I generally like it. But I really liked this, number 1. But number 2, the other surprise is what an impact it has had on my life. So this book is actually about a mutated measles pandemic that is like sweeping through the world, and the one scientist who is trying really hard to save humanity. And so there have been other things that have gone on pandemic related, like coronavirus, and a lot of interesting things. And I could tell that I was very much interested in epidemiology, but this book really clinched it, where it made me understand that I find this fascinating and I should really kind of learn more and look into it. And so I have, and since then I am actually interested in this to the point where I'm thinking about going back to school for epidemiology. And I don't think I've ever had a book like that where it was just it inspired such kind of action, and I was just not at all expecting that. So that's really cool and surprising. So there you go. I liked it more than I expected, and also it has now literally quite possibly changed my life. So there you go. Number 7 is, what is your favorite new author, either debut or new to you? And I didn't really have one, but an older author that I have read, Martha Wells, who wrote the Murderbot Diaries. I already knew that I liked Murderbot Diaries, but my reread this year really cemented the fact that I love Murderbot Diaries. And so Martha Wells, I'm just going to she's a new author that I'm going to be following, and very likely to pick up whatever she releases next. So again, that's a big deal too. Number 8, your newest fictional crush. I don't have any, but I have been rereading the October Day series, like I said, and it really reestablished just how much I love Tybalt. the character of Tybalt is love. I love him so much. Just absolutely adore him. And so, like, this reread has really just, I knew I loved Tybalt, and now I just love him so much more. So, there you go. Number 9. What is your newest favorite character? And that is actually another character from the October Day series, and that is the Lushak. I liked the Lushak before, but I didn't love her. Now I love her. So she is like a fae that is literally thousands of years old. She is the sea witch. She is the boogeyman for the fae, where it's like, you better eat your vegetables or the Lushak's gonna get you, kind of thing. And because she's been around for thousands of years, she is so done. She's so done with humans. She's done with fae. She's like trying so hard to be patient and polite, but she hates them all. But her heart is still in the right place. So it's just a really interesting mix, and I love her so much. And it's just been such a joy to read these books with her in them. Number 10, a book that made you cry. None. There might have been one where I teared up. That was an October Day series book, but I'm not going to tell you which one, and I'm not going to tell you why, because I don't want to spoil it for you. But other than that tearing up kind of thing, I really haven't read any books that have made me cry. But it really, that's a like high threshold. I generally don't cry at books. Number 11, a book that made you happy. Well, as previously mentioned, I did love This Is How You Lose the Time War, so it did make me happy. But also Heartstopper by Alice Oseman, Volume 1. This was so cute and fluffy and darling, and it gave me all the fuzzy feelings, and I just really loved reading it, and I was so happy. And then number 12, what is the most beautiful book that you have bought or received this year? 1,000 Pieces of You by Claudia Gray. This, I knew I wanted to read it, and I was going to get it from the library, and then I saw the cover, and I decided to buy it. I don't buy based on covers, except apparently in this case. It really, really works for me. The color scheme, the actual picture, the detail, gosh, you guys, everything. It's so good. So this one would be the one that I bought. That is the most beautiful. And then last question, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Like I said, I'm rereading the October Days series, so I need to finish that out, which is 4 books left. The Sarantha Jax series, which I am in the middle of, and I need to read 5 books for that. The Kate Daniels series, which I am also rereading, which has like 9 more that I need to read. I need to finish up Mistborn, which I am in the middle of, by Brandon Sanderson. I need to read Extreme Makeover by Dan Wells, and I need to read James Potter and the Elder Wand Crossing, Elder Halls. Oh, I don't remember the exact title. I'll put it down in the description. But this is a fan fiction. It's not a sanctioned like Harry Potter thing. But those are all the things that I have to read by the end of the year, which is a lot. So I think I can do it, but it's a lot. But that's it, you guys. That is the end. We made it. So there you go. Until next time, guys, have happy reading, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.